Okay, so you've given us the latest here, hot off the press. The Eastern Conference Finals just wrapped up, and we're ready for a deep dive into exactly what went down. Our mission today, pretty straightforward. Unpack that huge Game 6. You know, the one where the Indiana Pacers, they were at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and they just absolutely handled the New York Knicks 125 to 108.
Yeah, it was decisive.
It really was.
Yeah.
And this wasn't just like another win. This was the clincher. This punched their ticket to the NBA Finals. It finished off a series that honestly had some wild swings, some great moments.
Oh, absolutely. A real roller coaster.
So let's dig in. What exactly did Indiana do in that game to make such a huge statement?
Well, yeah, looking at the notes here on Game 6, it really does jump out. You felt it right away, didn't you? There was this energy from the Pacers, this real urgency.
Right.
They knew, okay, we can end this right here tonight on our home court, and they played exactly like that.
And the analysis we've got calls it a masterclass, both offense and defense. Let's maybe start with the offense, because watching it, wow, they just couldn't seem to miss, especially from deep.
They really couldn't. In what the material highlights, it wasn't just that they were hitting shots, but when. It felt like every three-pointer was just, perfectly timed. Not just points on the board, but kind of soul-crushing for the Knicks defense.
Yeah, demoralizing is the word used here. And you could see why. The Knicks looked stretched thin already.
Totally.
And the guy pulling the strings, Tyrese Haliburton, described as the orchestrator.
Yep.
It wasn't only his scoring, though he definitely hit some timely ones. His vision, the passing, it just seemed, I don't know, next level.
What's really interesting reading through this breakdown is how well he balanced it all. He wasn't just like score first or pass first. He was getting into the lane, making the defense react.
Drawing them in.
Exactly. And then, boom, kicking it out to the open guy. Perfect reads.
Which really speaks to that whole unselfish style the Pacers play, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. That's their brand, really.
And it wasn't just Haliburton carrying the load. The notes make a point about the supporting cast. Huge contributions.
Oh, yeah. Miles Turner, you got his defense inside, which was critical, but then he steps out and hits threes, stretching the floor.
That makes him tough to guard.
And Pascal Siakam, too, that veteran know-how, finding ways to score from all over, just solid.
That depth really showed up. Plus, the notes mention how they kept attacking the basket relentlessly.
Yeah, and that wasn't just about layups. It was smart. It put the Knicks in foul trouble.
Ah, okay. So more free throws.
Tons of free throws.
Yeah.
And Indiana, they made them count. They didn't waste those chances.
Okay, so the offense was obviously firing on all cylinders, but the defense, you mentioned that too, that had to be just as important, right?
Yeah.
How did they manage to slow down that Knicks offense? Because at times in this series, they looked pretty unstoppable.
It was a real team effort on D. You saw the commitment. The rotations looked sharp. Guys were helping each other, challenging shots. But the single biggest thing the analysis points to, how they handled Jalen Brunson.
Okay, yeah. He's been incredible. So what did they do?
Well, he still scored, obviously. But the notes say constant pressure, double teams. They made him work for every single point.
So not necessarily stopping him cold, but making it really inefficient.
Exactly right. All that effort he had to expend for every basket, it just limited his overall efficiency. And maybe more importantly, his impact on the flow of the game wasn't the same as earlier in the series.
This makes sense.
And another key thing mentioned here, transition defense.
Ah, stopping the easy buckets, fast breaks.
Precisely. They got back, they hustled back consistently, and that forced the Knicks to play more in the half court.
Which played into Indiana's hands.
It did. Against Indiana's set, structured defense, it was just tougher for New York to get into a good rhythm offensively.
Okay. Let's flip it then. The Knicks' perspective. Obviously a tough ending for them. The notes call it a disappointing end to a truly remarkable season.
And remarkable really is the word, isn't it? Considering everything they went through, the material's very clear about the injuries. They battled them all playoffs long.
Yeah.
And missing guys like OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, you really felt those absences in a game like this, Game 6. Needed that depth, that scoring punch.
Yet even with all that, you look at the series, they showed so much heart, incredible resilience. They just kept fighting.
Oh, absolutely. You can't knock the effort at all. They never quit.
But the challenge was...
Right.
Well, finding offense when Brunson was getting so much attention, right?
Yeah, they relied so heavily on his kind of heroics, which was amazing to watch. But against that dialed-in Pacers defense, especially without those other key players, It just wasn't consistent enough in Game 6.
And the turnovers mentioned in the notes seemed like they happened at the worst moments.
They really did. Those were killers. Giving a hot Pacers team extra possessions, that's just pouring fuel on the fire. In a closeout game, you have to limit those mistakes.
Yeah, crucial errors.
But, as the analysis says, wrapping up the Knicks side, they can definitely hold their heads high.
For sure. They went way further than a lot of people expected, didn't they?
They absolutely did. Showcased that classic New York basketball fighting spirit. A really impressive run despite all the adversity.
So if we're summarizing Game 6,
Mm-mm.
it really comes down to that combination for Indiana, doesn't it?
Yay.
The balanced offense, the shooting was just, well, lights out.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense was cohesive, playing with that intensity you need to close out a series at home.
Yeah, it felt like they basically executed their game plan just about perfectly in that one. It was their night.
All right, so that wraps up our look at Game 6 and the end of the Eastern Conference Finals. Huge congrats, obviously, to the Indiana Pacers. Well-deserved win, moving on to the finals.
Yeah, definitely. And this whole series, it was just a great example of how unpredictable the playoffs can be and how much team chemistry, guys playing together, really matters.
No doubt. The Knicks, they fought like crazy, absolutely. But looking back at the notes, the deep dive, Indiana just seemed to have too much firepower in the end, and they executed flawlessly when it mattered most in Game 6.
Yep, couldn't have said it better. So the stage is set now. We've got the NBA Finals matchup locked in, and that promises to be, well, pretty enthralling, I think.
Oh, definitely. And, we'll be diving deep into that matchup next time. But maybe here's something to chew on until then. As you think back on this whole playoff run, for both teams, how much weight do you give to the X's and O's, the star power, versus just the grind, the injuries piling up, sheer player availability? How much did that ultimately shape how this all played out? Something to consider.